DreAllDay.com.
You are now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you expect to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves anyone out there, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together in one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one book, one show. This daily masterclass right here that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is the style versus the substance. In other words, how do you know when to focus on putting on a show and being pretty and making yourself look good versus when is it time for you to really buckle down and deliver the meat and potatoes, the actual deliverable of what it is that you're doing? Because this is a critical question, and there's a critical balance that needs to be struck by anyone who wishes to engage an audience these days. You want to engage an audience, it's great to have style. It's great to put on somewhat of a show, but at the same time, you got to have some substance to offer that group. Because if you don't offer enough substance, eventually you'll be replaced by somebody else who has a different style or just a fresher, newer style, or who just copies your style and just does it in a different way from you. Okay? And these days, especially with the internet and people having so many options when it comes to what they engage with, you have to command people's attention on one hand, but you also must give them something of substance that will help them grow and allow them to justify their investment in time with you. As they say in sales, people make decisions based on emotion, they justify with logic, but they need both. So emotion is the style, okay? If you have a nice enough style, you can get people to buy into what you're doing and at least give you temporary attention. But when it's time for them to justify making their decision to deal with you and continue to follow you, you got to have some substance behind that. If you don't have any substance, then you won't be able to hold on to people. And if you have no style, you can't get people's attention in the first place. So you need a combination of both, okay? So you got to give them something. You got to command people's attention with the style, but you also must give them something of substance that will help them grow and allow them to justify their investment. You will need a balance of both elements to have a successful show. So when we talk about show business or just putting on a show and what you do, you got to make sure that you are balancing both of these things. So I talked about in masterclass number 1053, the show improve business in life. Masterclass number 490, social media is a new TV show. Don't be fooled by the actors. Masterclass number 458, how to put on a show. And masterclass number 1547, you're in the show business. If you didn't know you were in show business, you are in show business. Again, that's masterclass number 1547. So let's get into it here today. The topic, once again, the style versus the substance. Number one, you got to understand, as I talked about in the introduction, that in life, you got to be able to put on a show and be serious at the same time. The style and the substance at once. When I was playing basketball in Mexico, I had an exhibition game one day, and our coach came up to us, and he was a Mexican guy, but he knew how to speak English. He came to the players before the game, and he said, listen, show and serious. So right before the tip-off, that's what he said to all of us. Show and serious. What the coach was letting us know is that we need to give the fans something to be excited about, because a lot of the fans, when I was in Mexico, at least when it came to the exhibition games, a few of them that I played in, the fans who came to those games were not hardcore basketball fans. Right? They didn't care about the pick and roll or execution or post footwork or any of that stuff. They came to the games to get some form of entertainment. And they came to see the gringos, Americans, do something that the Mexican players couldn't do. They came to see some slam dunks, some fancy dribbling, some dancing, something that would get the crowd riled up. That's what the fans came to see. So that was the show part of it, to entertain the fans, give the fans something to excite them, make the fans want to get your autograph after the game. That's the one thing that they were looking for. But on the other side, we had to make sure we won the damn game. All right, we couldn't be out there losing that game. So the coach was letting us know, all right, put on a show, make this entertaining, give the fans their money's worth, but at the same time, make sure we win the game by playing basketball the way you know how to play basketball. The thing is this, some people in life, when it comes to your audience that you have for anything that you do, some people come for one thing and they get the other thing as a bonus. Some people come for the information, for example, and they stay because you're entertaining. Some people come for the entertainment factor of it and they stay because they can learn something too. So you need to know, first of all, what's drawing people in, what's keeping people in, what's pushing people away before they even know about you, what's causing people to leave once they do know about you. You got to know the answers to these questions. This is the market research that you need to be doing on your own audience, on the people who are paying attention to you, to the people who are messing with you, or the people you wish to engage. You need to know these things about them. If you don't know these things, then I guarantee you they're not going to just come volunteer this information to you for the most part unless you're asking for it. This is all your job. Some people come for the show, some people come for the information, and vice versa, and they stay for the opposite reason. Your flexibility and your ability to deliver both, often at the same time, will expand your reach. So if you can put on a great show, but also give people some substance at the same time, that will expand your reach. If you have great substance and you learn how to put on a show to go with that substance, that will expand your reach. In the sports world, for example, we loved the athletes who had a flair to their performance. Why? Because it makes them fun to watch as well as making them be good at their game. This is why somebody like Kobe Bryant, who had a flair to his performance, there was a lot of style to the way that he played the game. It was interesting to watch him play. It was entertaining to watch Kobe play, even if you don't really know basketball that much, because he was just an entertaining player. And he had the substance. He was actually good at the same time. Now, there are some entertaining players who didn't have much substance. They don't last as long and their names don't ring out the same way. But on the other hand, you take a guy like Tim Duncan, who some of you who are not basketball fans, you may have heard of Tim Duncan, but you don't know anything about him. You can't even think of what he looks like. You can't think of any of his highlights because Tim Duncan did not have a whole lot of style. He basically had zero style whatsoever. And this is not a knock on Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan is a Hall of Fame player. He's actually going to go into the Hall of Fame the same time as Kobe Bryant in 2021. Supposed to be in 2020, but because of COVID, they couldn't do the ceremony. So next year he's going to be going into the Hall of Fame along with Kobe Bryant, just as great. Won championships. I think Kobe has one more championships than he had. I think so. I don't even feel like counting. But Tim Duncan got championships too. All right, Tim Duncan has the stats too. Tim Duncan was great too. Tim Duncan beat Kobe on many occasions playing in the NBA. They played at the same time. Tim Duncan didn't have the style. So a lot of casual fans know nothing about Tim Duncan, whereas a bunch of casual fans, every casual fan, even if you're not a fan at all, everybody knows who Kobe Bryant is. Why? Because he was able to attract a larger audience because of the fact that he had that style. Now, Tim Duncan, listen, he's a Hall of Famer. He made a whole bunch of money. He's a legend in the basketball world. Maybe that's all you want. If you just want that and you don't need the wider, bigger audience, then it's all good. I'm not saying that you're wrong for not going after that if that's the way that you want to do it. It's okay to err on the side of substance and go short on the style. It is not okay to err on the side of style and go short on substance. Everybody heard that? So if you're going to go too far one way or the other at the expense of the other side, go hard on the substance and light on style. So that means what you're going to have is you're going to have a niche audience of people who understand what's really going on. They will really appreciate you, but you will not reach the wider audience, which is fine if that's what you want. Now, if you go all style and no substance, what happens is you can have a very widespread following. You can get attention from a whole lot of people. The problem is your attention will not go very deep, but it will be very wide, but very shallow. Meaning, as soon as something better comes along, people will leave you and go to the next thing because they have no investment in you. We'll get to that as we go further into this. But people who are good but not fun, they will be appreciated, but they're only appreciated by those who really, really know the game and they can understand and appreciate the substance that person brought to the table. For example, Tim Duncan versus Kobe Bryant. But those who have style but not a lot of substance, all right, they can entertain us, but when we need production, we need to get serious, those people don't get called upon. I'll give you another example from the basketball world. Back in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, used to be this entity called the N1 mixtape. And many of you remember the N1 mixtape. The N1 mixtape is a bunch of street ballers. These are guys who played basketball literally on the hard blacktop playground, concrete of the big cities in the United States, and then even into the small cities. They played these games where they would do all these highlight reel dunks. They have all these fancy dribbling moves. And it's very entertaining basketball. Some of these guys could actually play. Some of them could not actually play. But it was very entertaining either way, right? And the N1 mixtape had a ton of style, but they did not have a lot of substance. When it came to actually serious basketball, many of the players who played N1 did not have substance. They couldn't have gotten on a regular basketball team, playing organized, structured basketball with a coach where plays get run, where you practice every day, where you got to play defense to stay on the court. Most of the players who were playing M1 mixtape could not have played in a quote-unquote regular basketball league simply because they had way more style than they had substance. So make sure that when it comes to style and substance, again, you need to find your balance. I'm just telling you here in point number one, understanding the difference between the two and what happens when you go too far on one side and not far enough on the other side. Point number two, today's topic is the style versus the substance. Number two, entice with the dessert, but you feed them the whole foods. It's a great metaphor here. Entice them with dessert, but feed them the whole foods. In other words, use bright, shiny objects to draw attention, meaning your style, whatever that style happens to be. Use that to draw people's attention into you if you want to go that route. But make sure you have some substance to offer once you have people paying attention. Once people are noticing you, paying attention to you, buying into you, giving you the spotlight that you want, make sure you got something to offer them that keeps them there. All right, they gotta have some food to go in their belly, something that's gonna stick to their bones. Okay. Personally, I fly on airplanes often, for example. But when I fly in an airplane, I'm not always gonna show you what seat I'm in. If I got a first class seat, I don't want to show that off, even though some people are into doing that thing. I drive nice vehicles, but I don't show you what vehicle I'm in. I want to be, and this is just my way, I'm not saying you need to do this, I'd rather be respected for what I bring to the table, not what I have or what I can show off. But I know a lot of influencers, people I know personally, who do the opposite as their basic business model. Some of them listen to this show right now. As their basic business model, they like to show you their, quote unquote lifestyle, and they like to sell the substance once they get you paying attention. Most of the people that I know, they do have some substance to offer. Some have more than others. Some of them lean really heavy on the style side, and they're a little bit lighter on the substance side. But this is what works for them, or at least I think it's working for them. I hope it's working for them. But to each their own. But I'm just laying it all out for you here so that you understand what's going on and what the game is. So make sure you're not the one being played because you don't know that the game is being played. I know a lot of influencers, like I said, who they like to show off the style, and that works for them. And is it funny that the word is lifestyle? They like to show off that lifestyle, and then once they get you paying attention, then they'll show you some of the substance that they have to offer. Or maybe you're not even interested in the substance, you just like the lifestyle so much, you just pay attention to that. And listen, I ain't mad at them. If that's what you want to do, that's the way you want to play the game, and the game is working for you, continue to do what works for you. I would personally rather bring something more solid to the table. Now, again, let me be clear. I'm not above styling and showing off, but there is always some substance behind what I offer. I don't want to give you a whole lot of style and not any substance whatsoever, because for me, I feel like let me give some substance to what I'm giving here. The style is all good, it's cool, and I'm getting attention for the style, but I got to make sure I put some substance in there too. I got to give you something to eat. All right, now some of my peers leave me wondering if there's anything underneath the showing off. Is there anything underneath the style? And the style, again, can draw great attention. The problem is when you're using all style that people are not fully invested in you. People are not fully bought in because they're just looking at the style. They're looking at the surface. It's kind of like eating candy. You're not 100%. You wouldn't eat a meal of candy. You grab some candy. You're walking past the store. You're a little bit hungry. You grab a box of Mike and Ike's or a pack of Skittles or some Twizzlers or some Reese's Pieces or some M&Ms or something like that. You'll grab it, but are you fully invested in it? No. And how much does a candy cost? $2? What about a meal? Now, it's time for you to eat a meal. That's a little bit more serious decision. You're a little bit more conscious about what you're putting in your body, because you might think, all right, I need this. I'm gonna need the energy from this food, or I just want to eat a good meal today because I haven't eaten anything. All I ate was a bag of M&Ms. I need something more serious, right? We get a little bit more serious when it comes to the meal than we do eating the snacks. So again, understand the balance between the style and the substance, and what type of people you will attract when you are heavy on the style and or heavy on the substance. You will attract a lot more people, again, utilizing style. But make sure once you do that, if you want to do that in order to draw an audience of people in, all good, keep doing what you do. But then make sure you add some substance behind it to keep them around. Point number 3. If I said that enough times, point number 3. Today's topic is the style versus the substance. Number 3, truth. Here's the truth about life. In aggregate, people pay more for entertainment than they pay for education. Overall, people spend more money on entertainment than they do on education. So it makes sense to put on a show. All right, so I want to make sure I'm being clear here. I'm not railing against putting on a show. I'm not railing against showing off your lifestyle, if that's you. I'm not railing against you taking your clothes off for social media pictures if that gets you more likes than a 3-paragraph blog post or motivational statement. All right, if that works for you and it brings in more attention, go ahead and do it, because people pay more attention to entertainment than they do education. It is just, that's the deal. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics for the year 2016, they said the average person over the course of a year spends $2,913 on entertainment. They spend $1,329 on education. That is more than double. Average American spends more than double the amount of money on entertainment than what they spend on education. But I want you to remember something. Your legacy and posterity will not remember that you drove a nice car or that you lived in a fancy house. Posterity will remember the value that you gave to people and what that value did for those people. It will not remember much about what you did for yourself. It will remember what you did for others. When you focus so much on putting on a show to the detriment of creating substance, it becomes so much about you that there's no transfer of value. And this is a challenge when there's no transfer of value. Because the transfer of value is what keeps people coming back to you. It's what keeps people needing you. Is what causes other people to tell others about you with ringing endorsements. When you have transfer value, you've given something that has allowed them to up their level. Now, you give something to somebody that makes them feel good but doesn't really up their level, that's a temporary thing. Now you got to do it again and again and again and again. When you give people something of value that sticks to their ribs, that allows them to raise their value, that one transfer of value could be enough to keep that person around and paying attention to you and paying you, period, for years on end, simply because you have given them a way to improve themselves, as opposed to you just showing them how you have improved yourself. Because who, in the long run, who really cares about what you got for yourself? Nobody. Transfer of value keeps people coming back and keeps people needing you. Entertainment, folks, entertainment can be easily replaced. Now, if your favorite TV show stopped coming on TV, what would you do? You'll find a new favorite TV show. You find something else to watch on Netflix. You find another documentary to pay attention to. You find another show. Entertainment is easily replaced. It comes and goes. What was the hottest TV show 5 years ago? You don't even remember. What's the hottest show now? What's going to be the hottest one 5 years from now? Won't be anyone that's out. It probably won't be anyone that's out right now or anyone that you know of right now in the moment. Attention is relatively cheap, ladies and gentlemen. You can buy attention. You can go on Instagram, invest $5 in boosting any one of your posts. You just bought some attention right there, that fast. Substance, at least the creation of substance, being able to produce and disseminate substance, you can't buy that. Now, you can buy it from someone else. If I'm selling you substance, I'll tell you how much it costs. You can purchase it from me. But I'm talking about actually generating substance or generating attention. You can financially purchase attention. All you gotta do is pay X amount of dollars to Facebook or Instagram or Google. You can run an ad right there. But substance, generating it, you can't just do that just because. You can't just snap your fingers and generate substance. It doesn't work that way. So ask yourself, when it comes to your presentation right now, what you're bringing to the table and what you're delivering, are you giving people more style? Are you giving people more substance? Where do you need to, maybe you need to balance the scales a little bit. Maybe you have a ton of substance, but because you're not using the right type of style, you're not drawing enough attention to get people to notice your substance. Listen, it is your duty when you have a high level of substance to make sure you get as many people as possible to know about that substance. And if they don't know about it, then you may have to adjust your styling to make sure more people know about you so that you can get them the substance that you're delivering. Now, that's part of the game as well. Let's not ignore that. Let's recap today's class, which is the style versus the substance. It's a critical balance to be struck by anyone who wants to engage an audience. You have to command people's attention, but also give them something of substance that will help them grow and allow them to justify their investment in time with you. You need a balance of both here. Point number one, the show plus being serious. When I was in Mexico, a coach said to us, show plus serious. Give the fans something to be excited about that will entertain them quickly, but also make sure you do something to win the game. Give them something of value in the end. So some people show up for one thing, they get the other thing as a bonus. Some people come for the info, they stay because it's entertaining. Some people come for the show, they stay because they learn. Your flexibility and ability to deliver both often at the same time will help you expand your reach. If you are good but not fun, you will still be widely appreciated, but only by those who really know the game. If you're fun but not good, you can draw a ton of attention, but in the long run, you will be forgotten because somebody will easily come along and replace you. For example, Tim Duncan and Kobe Bryant, both were heavy on substance. Kobe was heavy on style. Tim Duncan had very little. Point number 2. Entice people with the dessert, but feed them the whole foods. In other words, use bright, shiny objects, your lifestyle, your style, your show to draw attention, but make sure that you have some substance to offer them once you get them paying attention, because it's only so long that the same gig, the same act is going to keep drawing people's attention. They eventually get used to it. They'll move on to the next thing if you don't have anything else to offer. So if you like to fly first class, if you like to drive nice vehicles and you want to show them off, that's all good. Just make sure you have some substance to show people behind that, okay? Because it may work to get you a certain amount of attention. I ain't mad at you for it, but make sure you have some substance behind it when you're done. If you want to play the game that way, play the game that way, but do not forget the substance, because people will leave you just as quickly as they showed up if that's all you got. Point number 3, here's the truth. In aggregate, people pay more for entertainment than they pay for education. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics says the average person spends nearly $3,000 a year on entertainment, but only $1,300 on education, and that's probably being generous. Your legacy will not remember that you had a nice car, that you lived in a fancy house, or what kind of shoes you had on. It will remember the value that you gave to other people, because that value will live on and be transferred over and over again, even when you're no longer around. Nobody will care what kind of car you drove when you're not around anymore, because you ain't around to drive it. Somebody else will be driving that exact same car, like I said, easily replaceable when all you have is style. Make sure there's some substance behind what you do. You do that by understanding how you transfer value. Transfer of value is what keeps people coming back to you and needing you, because entertainment can be easily replaced and attention is relatively cheap. Work on your game. Dre all day.